pretty on a Friday.
Deltarune, you know it, Toby Fox's second crack at making a beloved hit RPG. What if I told you there's a Friday Night Funkin' mod about the game? Here's 10 things about Seek's cool Deltarune mod. And hey, if you like these type of videos and want to see more, be sure to hit that sub button to be the first to see them. Alright, let's get into it. Seek's cool Deltarune mod is just that, a cool mod made by artist Seek Stuff about the hit RPG Deltarune. It features not only recreations of scenes from the base game as songs in Funkin, but also interpretations of upcoming and obscure content regarding the game as well. Seek did the bulk of the work on this mod, but still employs the help of a few friends here and there, making for a surprisingly small team of people behind such a large mod. The mod's story mode consists of single song weeks, the first of which is called In My Way. In My Way is a recreation of the scene near the end of the first chapter of Deltarune, in which Lancer stands between Susie and freeing the rest of the gang from the King's Castle dungeon. Susie ruthlessly attacking Lancer during this track is completely parallel to the fight in Deltarune, as Lancer makes it apparent that he can't stand aside because he's worried the gang is going to kill his father. The dialogue at the beginning and end of this track is lifted straight from the game, but Susie's spoken voice lines are sampled from the Steven Universe character Jasper. The second week of the mod, Weeketh Jr., features Chris and Ralsei facing off against the notorious Rules card in the Acid River of Deltarune Chapter 2. The week's name corresponds with the ye old English manner of speaking Rules is known for, as seen in the dialogue before the song starts. Again, the dialogue is lifted straight from this scene in the game. The giant duck that Rules is riding is the worst version of the custom thrash machine in Chapter 1 of Deltarune, a creation so poor that the game informs you that it sucks ass. The duck will also occasionally block the player's view, and Chapter 2's antagonist Queen makes the occasional appearance. The instrumental of Chips Ahoyeth is a remix of Rules fight music called It's Pronounced Rules, and the name is a reference to the phrase spoken by Rules before this encounter, which in and of itself is a nod to the cookie brand Chips Ahoy. During this song, the player will notice that our protagonist Chris doesn't sing, but instead plays some of Deltarune's numerous sound effects in its place. This is due to the fact that Chris doesn't frequently speak, let alone sing, in Deltarune. Though there's no animation for it, the track ends with Rules being turned to stone. The next week, Show-Stopping Musical, is the first week that is entirely an interpretation of upcoming events. It features Chris facing off against the mod's interpretation of Mike, based on the smiling TV at the end of Deltarune Chapter 2. The mod interprets Mike as this television-headed producer type, whose main concern is putting on a good show. The telephone in his left hand is a reference to the phone in Spamton's room, as phone calls were how the two would correspond. The cheering heard in the background of the song also plays into the theme of entertainment. Occasionally, 4 robots in the shape of a camera, clapboard, light, and boom mic will fly by with a screen that has numerous references on it, including an everyman appearance and instructions informing the player they can press F1 for help. The dialogue at the beginning of this track is the same as when Chris closes a dark fountain, but is interrupted by Mike. Chris's right/shield animation features a white outline of a heart within their being, in reference to the mechanic which narrowly dodging enemy bullets generates TP. Funnily enough, this little detail is actually more difficult to see when shielding due to the screen shake. Briefly, Mike's vocals will sing the motif of Death by Glamour, and his face will have the same pattern as Mettaton, in reference to the character. Past the dark fountain to the left, we see a blurry billboard which reads Theater of Wonders, which teases an upcoming opponent. Chaos is a week which pits the player, Sham the shopkeeper, against Jevil. This is an interpretation of what led to the sealing of Jevil, as in-game Sham has intimate knowledge of the steps required to release the Jester. Sham and Jevil used to work together as Jester and Magician, but due to Jevil being influenced by an outside person, he was driven mad and the 4 kings decided to seal him away. During the song, the notes will rotate to the tune of a Gaster Easter egg in an attempt to distract the player. Partway through, Jevil attacks Sham with his scythe, wounding his right eye. This is an explanation of why Sham wears a button eye patch in Deltarune. Playing the song on Chaos difficulty adds more distracting mechanics, like the carousel blocking the player's view. Among the carousel is another everyman appearance. Smile features a new character named Thesperus facing off against the entire Fun Gang. As previously mentioned, this is the character we see on the billboard in Showstopper. For the first time, the entire Fun Gang's together, introducing a new healing and health drain mechanic alongside the return of the shield. Hitting notes now generates TP, allowing Ralsei to use their healing technique when it's at 32% or more. Based on the billboard, we can assume that this stage takes place in the Theater of Wonders, as numerous theater chairs can be seen scattered about the ethereal space. Though the week starts without character dialogue to set the stage, we do get a bit of backstory from this character concept made by Seek. Thesperus is a hypothetical Deltarune Chapter 3 hidden boss, whose smile was copyrighted for advertisements by Mike. Unlocking the fight would include taking down Mike's lawyer and retrieving the smile for Thesperus, who would turn and attack the gang. Though it isn't present in the Funkin mod, Thesperus would have had the ability to take on the form of the player and their party members in order to unleash extreme versions of their own attacks. Though the mechanic isn't in the Funkin mod, the happy difficulty does add ribbon notes that temporarily blocks the screen when pressed. At the end of the song, the player receives a smile ribbon and the third shadow crystal awarded by each chapter's hidden boss. Chris's up pose during this track is a reference to their twirl animation. Neo and the song Hyperlink is a fight against everyone's favorite spam program, Spamton. Just like in Deltarune, this stage takes place on the constantly moving track with Spamton Neo dangling from his puppet strings. Though this track is initially just over 2 minutes long, Spamton will increase the timer by an additional 30 seconds when it runs out. Spamton has a couple voice lines throughout Hyperlink which makes several musical references. Getting Freaky in UGG from Bass FNF, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody in the line Mama, and the line Earthquakes and Thunderstorms bass crashing through is a reference to Juno Song's Zavadilla with lyrics. Juno Songs is the voice of Spamton in this track, so the nod is fitting. During this song, the player can press F1 to increase their health just like in Showstopper, which is a nod to the same mechanic in Spamton's fight. In the Neo difficulty, players will have to avoid Peepus colored notes or be subject to a pop-up blocking the screen. There are 20 variants of potential pop-ups, including one of Mike's ads for the Theater of Wonders, Everyman, and the legend Newbert. All Stars is another single song week featuring numerous characters' voices and motifs from previous weeks. As opposed to a stage and character set, the track is a completely static image of Boyfriend wielding a soul heart of his own, and the game's characters looking onward, as this week is more focused on the music. It's an auditory collage of every song and more heard so far throughout the mod, that gets updated as more characters are added to the cool Deltarune mod. This is the first appearance of Boyfriend, as every playable character thus far has been from Deltarune. The last week of the current version of Seek's Cool Deltarune mod is Goner, which pits Boyfriend against the Vessel. At the very beginning of Deltarune Chapter 1, the player is asked to create a vessel in their image, giving it not only physical traits, but personality traits as well. Regardless of how much effort went into the creation of this vessel, the game simply discards it and gives you control of Chris. This week is a battle for your soul against the discarded vessel, trapped within the creation screen seen in Deltarune. Boyfriend still retains his regular Funkin appearance, only drawn in Seek's art style to better fit the mod. Within the game files, the vessel is referred to as Vinny. I gotta say, there's no way the vessel was actually discarded. Just like the thrashing machine, it's definitely gonna make a comeback in some way, shape, or form. There are 2 extra songs found in the free play menu, Boingo Doo and Aster Perambulus. Aster Perambulus stars the original Starwalker, and takes place in Scarlet Forest, likely the same place where they meet him after escaping the Starwalker bird. The original Starwalker is presented as some sort of all-powerful being in this track, levitating the player and himself into the starry sky above, glowing biblically, and increasing the song timer to an absurd amount. Based on the player's accuracy, the Starwalker will have different dialogue at the end of the song. The next song, Boingo Doo, stars Skuntle Bingoid. No, I'm not having an episode that's actually what he's called. Are you sitting? Because there's a couple layers to this one. Skuntle Bingoid is a hypothetical secret boss in Deltarune Chapter 3, which was first introduced in this meme by Impact Winter, poking fun at the formula of Deltarune bosses. The music in the background of this meme is a sped up version of the song No More Nuzzles from Undertale Halloween Hack, and the meme's follow-up mashes up this track with well-known meme sound effects. Skuntle was eventually given a design by artist Mustard Waffle, who created the character in the likeness of a cracked garden gnome. In Seek's Cool Deltarune mod, Skuntle still uses the gnome design, and the instrumental is another remix / mashup of No More Nuzzles. Skuntle's ho animation and the sound that plays is a reference to the Getting Gnomed meme. There is one final song that is deeply hidden within this mod. When selecting Show Stopping, there is a 1 in 36 chance the player will instead be taken to Man. Man is a hidden song against the man behind the tree, a mysterious figure who doesn't say much, but offers the player an egg in every chapter of Deltarune thus far. Due to the mysterious circumstances regarding the character, many players believe him to be W.D. Gaster from Undertale. The instrumental is simply the theme that plays in the man's secret room, and completing the song crashes the mod. During each song, the application header changes, but for Man, it is simply blank. Speaking of blank, 2 data folders for songs called Thrashed and Task Management can be found in the game files, perhaps alluding to upcoming or removed songs. Hey guys, Neb in the editing bay here. Right as I finished editing this video, Seek added a new update to the Cool Deltarune mod. For the first time in 10 Things history, I'm going to do an 11th thing and briefly talk about the new content. Seek's Cool Deltarune Mod version 4, also known as the 4-for-1 special, adds 4 new songs to the mod setlist. These songs are Thrashed, Clown Around Town, My Man, and a new difficulty / remix of Aster Perambulus. Thrashed takes place during the events of Deltarune Chapter 1, where Susie switches to Lancer's side and fights Chris and Ralsei. The thrashing machine the player designed was discarded and the duo decide to thrash you themselves. During the track, Ralsei sings a short tune of The Legend as a lullaby, putting Susie to sleep, an actual mechanic in this fight. Clown Around Town pits the first first two secret bosses of Deltarune together, Spamton and Jevil. The scene takes place just outside Spamton's dumpster where he first meets Chris, and the instrumental is a remix of Now's Your Chance to Be Ya, Spamton's original fight music. My Man stars Newbert, a recurring character throughout Chapter 2 of Deltarune. The name of the song is a reference to his appearance in the altered version of Deltarune Chapter 1 seen in the Undertale 6th anniversary stream, to which he states "Everybody loves me," and one of the party members responds with "My man." And finally, the Starwalker difficulty of Astra Perambulus takes the original track and cranks it up to 11, adding shield notes and more screen shake to the already difficult charting of the song's remix. Just like the original Astra Perambulus, the original Starwalker will change what he says based on your accuracy, which I only know from looking at the code because I can't beat it. Yikes. Speaking of difficult tracks, an alternate version of Hyperlink called Hyperlink Reloaded has been added to free play, a take on the Spamton Neo fight at the end of a Snowgrave route. The track features shield notes, limited healing, and intense charting. Just like in Deltarune, the Snowgrave Neo fight is objectively harder because Chris is alone. And that's 10 things about Seek's cool Deltarune mod. I hope you enjoyed. This was a really fun mod to play considering how true it was to the OG game, and I also love talking about Deltarune, so this video was a bit of a no-brainer. Thanks for watching, and until next time.